Well, 4 years after the pandemic caused prices to increase, a new study finds that U.S. wages still have not caught up with inflation. According to Bankrate's 2025 Wage to Inflation Index, Americans are earning 1.2 percentage points below the rise in the cost of living over the past 4 years. So what does that mean? In simpler terms, that means the average employee's pay increases over that time have not caught up with higher prices. Bankrate's study comes after a CBS News poll from last month found most Americans think negatively of the economy. 55% rated it as bad. A majority also said that they have seen prices rise in recent weeks and expect those increases to continue. Sarah Foster joins us now. She's a U.S. economy reporter and analyst for Bankrate. And it's so good to have you with us, Sarah, and talking about this, because you're not just imagining it. It feels like your salary just doesn't go as far as it used to. I know that the gap between wages and inflation has been really closing, but that's starting to slow down in recent years, too.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Thank you for having me. I love talking about this topic because it's a very confusing one. You know, wages have been catching up to inflation. They've been rising faster than prices for the past several years. But I think there's a missing piece when we really have this discussion. If you were to go back to the very beginning when prices first surged and tracked how much prices and paychecks increased, that's when you find that there is a gap. And the pace at that gap, the pace that it's been closing, it's been slowing because you need two pieces of this coin to really work in your favor. You need inflation to come down, and then you need the labor market to remain solid so paychecks can continue to catch up. Paychecks, the wage growth has been slowing a lot faster than inflation over the past few months, and that's why it's continuing to take so much longer for Americans just to get back to where they were.
And we were talking before, it's not simply about just learning how to budget better. It's just that you simply don't have enough money in terms of where your salary is going. Are certain professions being hit by this more than others?
We did find that actually there are some industries where pay did outpace inflation. Those were service sectors like food services, leisure and hospitality, retail, and then healthcare. Simply put, wage growth is just a reflection of who has the power in the labor market. And if you are in the driver's seat, if you are in demand, then that means that companies are probably going to be more likely to lift your pay as a way to recruit you or to retain you from going somewhere else. Yeah. These retail, these service sector, food services workers, they were all in the driver's seat coming out of the pandemic because the jobs came back a lot faster than the workers did. And so it resulted in companies lifting pay by the fastest pace in records. And then also healthcare, this is kind of the recent story that's really been driving most of the job gains that we've been seeing over the past 12 months, which is far different from those other sectors, those white collar jobs where pay has not been keeping pace with inflation.
I mean, I know that sometimes there are cost of living increases in people's salaries, but it just still does not seem to be enough at times. Is there any relief in sight? What can be done to close the gap here?
It's a complicated question. One of the things that we do with this study is we also project out when wages will eclipse inflation, when Americans will finally get back to that point. If everything continues going the way that it has been, that's on pace to close by the third quarter of next year. But, that's a big question mark. If the economy has proven anything to us, it's that it cannot be predicted. So tariffs are really the big question mark right now. And economists point to them as really being stagflationary. They could result in higher prices, and they could also slow the labor market. And as we were talking about before, you really need both sides of the coin to really be working in your favor.
Absolutely. All right. Sarah Foster, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.